My God. I activated the beacon when I heard the fighting. Never expected that you'd walk through that door. We'll have to catch up later. We're here. This is the courtyard. Black Tusk has been tearing the place up, hauling away anything they can. You need to get there and put a stop to it. Getting in is gonna be the tricky part, especially now they know that you're coming. I can create a diversion here to help you get through. Let's hope it's enough. Hey. It's good to see you.
So I was recording some good old Division 2 footage yesterday, and the entire time, when I was playing for almost 2 hours for the very first, I can't remember what episode it was, the first episode that came out that has like a whole new island and everything. They released new content ever since then, but this new one seemed like it was interesting. So I came back to it, and I was playing it, and I just couldn't help but feel like this is a complete waste of freaking time. It has been very interesting lately. I remember the very first time when I bought the game, got the 5-day early access, whatever, stuff like that, and I was playing it for a good portion of the time. And the grind there was fine. It was, going from level 1 to whatever the level cap was fine. The gear score was a little eh. I didn't really understand. I understood that, you had to go from, you get your gear score up to level 500. And I was also fine with that. The problem is the way that the gear worked, the loot worked in that game. You would get gear that was sometimes better than the legendaries in that game. Now, I can't remember specifically, but I know there was the purple. Purple is rare, I believe. If not, I don't know the other thing, but there's purple and there's the yellow, and I think that's legendary because exotics is the orange. So there was rare, and sometimes rare loot would drop, and it would sometimes be better than legendary gear, which is something that always used to annoy me because if I can go back, it's like getting weapons that had better stats but was still a purple when you had legendary weapons, and it was still like the level requirement, everything else was the same, but you just happen to get better stats on a rare item compared to a legendary item. And it's just something like that doesn't really make sense to me, because if it's a legendary item, shouldn't it be better than the rare item since it's the highest tier that you can go with? And Division 2 is one of those games where it's trying to make a build. It's trying to have you do builds for different situations in the game, and that's fine and all and stuff like that. But the problem with the game is, I still feel like I don't really care enough to. You still have to shoot up enemies the same exact way. It doesn't seem like there's not much of a difference in Division 2 when it comes to the gear system in that game. And it's still something that I still don't fully understand, nor did I really care to. You have different mods in this game that I have over 100 different mods that I can put into my character that can make my characters build a lot better. But I just can't help but just feel like there's no point. I went through the entire first hour of the game. It was on normal, yes, and it was still a little bit of a challenge. I've died a few times, but at the same time, I just put on some guns that I had. I had so many guns I just kept because they look cool or they're legendaries, and I got my character up to like $4.99. So I was like, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this out. I'm not sure if you could matchmake for the very first mission, but I just decided to do it by myself. And going through it, it didn't feel right. I don't know what it was, but it was boring. It was very, very boring with the story. The story wasn't even that great. I was always there for the gunplay, and eventually the gunplay gets old because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Exotics weren't really that special either. They had some special perks here and there, but it wasn't anything that was like, oh my god, but I'm still gonna equip this big huge LMG because that does more damage, right? You know, so it's just, I don't really see what Division 2 is trying to become. And by this point, everyone's already stopped caring about this game, it seems like, by the time the raid came out. And I was interested in doing the raid because it seems really interesting. But then they took out matchmaking for it, and they did put matchmaking in there. But there's a trade-off there that I can't remember that was there if you were to do the matchmaking version of the raid instead of doing it with friends. And you know, I still have many friends when it comes to these type of activities. So I have to go on the forums or join a clan and blah blah blah. It's something that I just never been interested in. You know, I've been just playing story and doing the missions and grinding and stuff like that, and that was fine. But eventually it just got really old because I hit the cap. And that was another problem with the Division, is that they didn't increase the gear score cap. So I still don't have a reason to come back to that game. No one's gonna come back to the game just for the story or just for a few new activities. You know, they did some different things with their UI and everything, and that's perfectly fine. But it doesn't really change because it's still the same exact thing. You're still going into scenarios where you gotta shoot this thing in the face as many times as you can, you know, and that's it. On to the next thing. You know, the mechanics, there's no different mechanics or anything like that. You know, it's still the same exact thing. Go to this thing, turn it on, protect it, and you get waves of enemies you could just knock down by yourself with no problem. And yes, I can increase the difficulty, but it's just more of a bullet sponge. There's no creativity with it. There's nothing different with it, and it's something that just gets old very, 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 very fast. So I don't know what Division can do from here, considering that the Borderlands 3 and the newest expansion for Destiny already came out. So everyone's gonna really I feel like a lot of people is gonna overlook this expansion or this DLC, and it really sucks because I think Ubisoft has a thing where they make their games, and when it first comes out, it's not the best thing. But then if you give it a year or two, it turns into this really, really good project. And it's just, why do I have to wait almost a year? I have to wait a year or two for a game to be what it's supposed to be when it first came out. And that's a thing for all the games that's come out ever since then, from 2019 and behind that. You know, it's always been Ubisoft's model where they just release a game, they throw it out there, or with their live service games, they just release crap and then wait a year for it to come out. Wait a year, and then it seems to be, I'm not gonna say the best thing, but it's bearable. And that's I don't like that. I don't like the model at all, but you know, whatever works for them, right? So my point in this video is really confused at what it's trying to be. Yes, it's supposed to be a looter shooter, but how is it a looter shooter if the loot is not as good as it's supposed to be? You know, and I'm pretty, you know, when this game first came out, you couldn't even do builds because the mod system was so broken, if I'm correct. You know, if I'm not exactly sure, but that was the biggest problem. It's like the mod system didn't make any sense. You know, even the mods that you put on your guns didn't make much of a difference to your actual stats. And I'm not exactly sure if that's really changed. They finally made the skills, like your grenade and everything, your special skills, they actually do damage. So I've actually wiped groups of people with my grenade, with the spawn grenade thing, and it actually worked. And I was like, finally. But why did that take so long to make that work? Because it was nothing more than just like a small little damage thing. That was like your best powers. Like you use your grenade mod, and then you would clear a whole group of enemies with no problem. You know, the whole gunner specialization still doesn't really feel as powerful in my honest opinion. You know, it still feels like you're shooting it. It still feels like a pea shooter. So there's a lot of things that I have with this game, and I was going to post like the first 15 minutes of the first mission of the game, and maybe I will. I'm not exactly sure. I was going to post the first 15 minutes of this game just to show you guys how it looks and what it looks like. But I feel like that for the very first 5 minutes into the video, you're going to understand what's going to happen throughout the game. And again, the story's not that great. So you're going to the Pentagon, to keep the Black Tusk from taking. I really don't remember. It's the story it's not interesting to me whatsoever. But it's the same exact thing, you know. Go here, clear this wave of enemies. Go to the next room, you know. Clear this wave of enemies. It happens over and over and over. And then at the final part for that mission that I've done was you had to shoot this big huge drone out of the sky, and it was just like you had to shoot parts of its engine over and over and over. And yeah, I had to move back and forth because it was shooting missiles at you and everything like that, but it was still just like a shoot this down and that's it. Like there's nothing different with the mechanics there, you know. And I'm pretty sure they put different mechanics into the raid. You couldn't just go into things and shoot things up. You got to do different things to make things work. I'm not exactly sure, but it's just I never played the raid still. But I'm not sure where I'm exactly going with this. This is going into like what, 12 minutes, almost 10 minutes. Division 2 has lost its spark, and when it first came out, like I said, it had an idea, it had a good idea, but it just didn't execute it correctly. It still has not been executed since this expansion has come out, and I'm really disappointed. But yeah, that's my take on this whole on the new Division thing. It's really nothing different. It's just more missions and more cards for you to get like 3 more exotics. It's not going to do a damn thing to your character whatsoever. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.
Quadcopter detected. Rhino-class quadcopter detected. Restored. Transmitting.
Okay, got something. Black Tusk's main objective is a perfusion bioreactor? What the hell is a perfusion bioreactor?
Leverage. I'll explain later. Securing that equipment is absolutely critical. We cannot let Black Tusk take it. Kelso out.
Head back to the entrance. I can direct you to the DARPA labs below.